to a friend of mine, a friend of yours, the Medicare Answer Guy. If you want any answers regarding Medicare, we're going to talk about it right now on this show. That's the purpose of the Word on Wealth. And we are absolutely blessed to have Jim Robeson with us on the air today. Jim, how are you doing today?
Gary, I'm having a fabulous time. I love San Diego, the sunshine, and I love being on your show, answering questions about Medicare, because there's a lot of them.
Oh my gosh. The most recent that surprised me is, I don't know if it should surprise me or not, but I always think that anything to do with Medicare and insurance or medical or anything like that, it seems so like crazy regulated. You know, you got the Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act, all these HIPAA rules and laws and disclosures and all this stuff I have to deal with as an attorney. But then it's like, wait a minute, there's some stuff in Medicare that is just not regulated. And people don't understand like the prescription drug coverage of Medicare. And I mean, that's kind of our thing today. It's like, let's talk about that. This Medicare prescription maze that I don't understand. I mean, I'm almost to the age where I'm literally going to have to say, get an appointment with you. That'll be for the following year. And it's like, Jim, talk me through this. So hopefully we'll learn it before then. But let's talk about navigating the Medicare prescription maze.
Well, it's probably the of all the questions that I get, Gary, it has to do with drugs, medicine. And as you just pointed out, in the Medicare world, prescription drugs are not regulated. What do I mean by that? That simply means once you transition to Medicare, whether you're on a standalone Medicare drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan that has prescription drugs, you can take, let's say you have 5 meds, you can take those 5 meds to 5 different pharmacies and get 5 different prices. 2 months later, you can do the same thing and you'll get 5 different prices. It's not regulated. And it's created all kinds of havoc for 63 million people across the United States.
Wow.
And it's very complicated and confusing. I can tell you when I first started doing this and specializing in Medicare, I wanted to stay so far away from prescription drugs because I didn't even understand it. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the problem, because my guess is the majority of agents really don't understand it. And when they talk to somebody about Medicare and prescription drugs, they kind of gloss over it. And this is one of the major reasons why Medicare, CMS, this year passed a new law saying that all of our calls had to be regulated, because the biggest complaint last year and in previous years had to do with prescription drugs. People got on a plan, they didn't understand it, and it was largely because it wasn't explained to them correctly.
Interesting. And that's such a big deal with, I mean, medications, we get this, we're paying a premium for insurance, we're getting certain coverage, we know we're entitled to certain benefits, you have certain, things going on, but it's like what hits us that is so different and varied, yet it's insanely consistent, is that prescription medications, because most people have these prescription medications. And it seems like the older you get, there's a factor in, okay, I'm 3 years older, I've got 3 more prescription medications, and they change and all that. So, I mean, this is kind of the part of Medicare that is the most confusing, because it's I think it's the part that people touch all the time. It's not just this premium, okay, I can live with the premium and whatever it is. And, Jim Robeson, my Medicare Answer Guy's got that all figured out to where I'm paying the minimum premium I need to, but then it's the prescription that changes all the time. So tell me, so let's talk about some of the things with the Medicare coverage for prescriptions. So CMS, they're now requiring, you have to record your phone conversations with people. How do they regulate that? I mean, why are they actually having to do that?
Well, every agent has to give a disclaimer that the call is being recorded, and on their phone, whether it's a landline or a cell phone, you have to record your call. Because if somebody complains about me for prescription drugs or whatever, the insurance company can come back and say, well, you talked to so-and-so on this date at this time. We want to hear your recording. And we want to know, did you actually explain how the plan works and how prescription drug coverage works?
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. So they can, at least cover themselves. But here's the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
When somebody comes off a group plan or an individual plan, they turn 65 and now they're on Medicare, their coverage is totally different. Under the group or the individual plan, it was a copay, pure and simple. Once you get on Medicare, there are 4 stages of how your drugs are covered. And that's where it becomes very confusing. And even though when somebody talks to me and says, I want to be on a Medicare plan, I need prescription drugs, we go out to Medicare.gov and we'll run a research, or we research 30 different plans, and we explain it. Now, it's so confusing. I have clients call, my drugs are too expensive, on and on and on and on. So I have to review it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is, you're right. As you get older, you're taking more and more meds. And there are different tiers. And one of the key things to remember on prescription drugs with Medicare is every Medicare standalone drug
2 minutes
has a contract with a certain pharmacy, whether it's CVS or Rite Aid or Costco. And that contract basically says you can only charge so much for these meds. Well, you can go to any pharmacy you want to, but if you want the lowest cost, you need to go to the preferred pharmacy that's connected with your drug plan.
Oh.
To keep it low.
So then,
Now,
Jim, when you're shopping for a drug plan with people and you're comparing, there's over 30 Medicare drug plans in San Diego County. That terrifies me. But when the Medicare Answer Guy, by the way, if you guys want to get a hold of Jim, write his number down, 858-935-9120. Again, that's 858-931-9120. His website is themedicareanswerguy.com, themedicareanswerguy.com. So you're doing the research for your clients. You're figuring out how the plans all work. And each of these Medicare drug plans, they're going to have a preferred, or many of them will have like a preferred pharmacy. Like, okay, if you want this one, it's this price, and their pharmacy is Costco or Walmart or something like that. Is that kind of how it's working?
That's exactly right. And when we come back from the break, I'll use a personal example to kind of explain how this works.
Okay. So we're glad that you're along here on the Word on Wealth today, folks, with Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy, and me, Attorney Gary Quackenbush from GQ Law. When we come back, what we're going to talk about next with Jim is we're going to talk more about the Medicare drug plans. Now, if you're not on Medicare, you do care about this stuff because you're either going to be on Medicare or you have parents that are going to be on Medicare or that are already on Medicare. I know when I tried to figure it out with my mom, it was impossible. So I'm glad we have Jim right here, the Medicare Answer Guy, 858-935-9120. We'll be back in a second.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is faith-based investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christians just don't understand that the money they save for retirement usually helps fund the abortion industry and other liberal anti-family causes. But did you know that with just a few minutes of your time, we can screen and clean your investments at no cost to you? It's absolutely complimentary. Just go to the website right now, download a free copy of my book, faith-based investing. It's free as well. You deserve to know the truth as the investor. Then the choice is yours. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can line up your investments and life savings with your beliefs. We are fiduciary investment advisors. You can feel good about investing with confidence. So learn more now. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com or call me at 931-RETIRED. Your free book is waiting for you. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com and be sure that you listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Call.
Gary, how do you and your team help our listeners avoid probate?
Well, first of all, probate is a process that involves attorneys, judges, and sometimes contesting parties. And so we try to avoid probate at pretty much all costs. The way we do that is setting up living trusts, setting up properly documented wills, putting the property like houses, cars, bank accounts in that trust so that it avoids probate. Probate is only necessary if the estate plan isn't set up quite right. So we help them get it set up right. And mainly that's done through a properly created living trust.
Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free initial consultation. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Mario.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're live.
Welcome to the Word on Wealth. We're so glad to have everybody along. We are talking through Jim Robeson, who is our expert Medicare guy. In fact, he is the Medicare Answer Guy. His website is themedicareanswerguy.com. When my listeners will call me either at my office or call the studio after the show or anytime during the week between shows with Jim, they'll always ask, what's the phone number? What's the phone number? And I go, just go to themedicareanswerguy.com. Oh, they remember it because my team remembers that easily. themedicareanswerguy.com. You can sign up for appointments, look at the material that he's got there. It's super helpful. A direct dial to him is 858-935-9120. All right. So that's the only number you're going to call. If you see a TV commercial that says, and it's some famous person saying, call this 800 number and find out about Medicare, that's not the right one. The number you have is 858-935-9120. Jim? That's just what we do. I mean, I only refer people to people that are intelligent, honest. They're trying to take care of clients because that's my world and my life and my family. That's what we're about, is taking care of people, answering questions and helping. And that's why Jim's on this show with me. That's why we don't have anybody else. And I appreciate you helping us out, Jim.
Thank you, Gary.
One thing real quick is like, with the Medicare basics, I mean, every Medicare eligible person is required to enroll within 63 days of becoming eligible or pay a late enrollment fee. Now, my understanding is the late enrollment fee, if you register too late, then the fee is just higher forever, right? And then
Well, there's two late enrollment fees.
Okay.
One is if you don't enroll in a drug plan within 63 days. The other is if you don't enroll in Part B of original Medicare, that's a much more, well, it's larger. It's 10% per year. It goes all the way up to, 30 or 40 or 50%. But the
Okay.
drug plan isn't that bad. It's $3.
Okay, but we
But
so
you
we
have
have
to do
three
it.
three things though. If we're turning 65, we need to talk to you because you need to enroll in Medicare. You need to find your Medicare Part B plan, and you need to do a Medicare prescription plan. And those are three different things that we need to enroll in. Right?
Exactly. And so when somebody calls me and said, I'm turning 65 in 3 months, I help them enroll in the government plan. I can't do it for them, but I show them how to do it. Once they get their little red, white, and blue card, then we have a conversation on what Medicare health plan and drug plan is going to fit them. And we try to do it way before all of this starts. So if my birthday is in December, it's on the 12th. When I enrolled, I started 90 days before that. My Part A and Part B it's always the first of the month unless you're enrolled or unless you were born on the first, and then it becomes the month before. But if you don't do it within 63 days, then you could get a late enrollment fee. I just got off the phone with a client who turned 65, but he continued to work for 2 years. Well, insurance companies don't know if you were still on a health plan. So he got a form letter that says you may have to pay a late enrollment fee because we have no proof that you were on a drug plan for those 2 years past your age 65.
Okay.
Not a problem. Call the 800 number, have your group health plan in front of you and give them the information. And probably 90% of the time, that'll be sufficient. Sometimes it's not, and it gets kind of ugly. So you want to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's.
Okay.
On that one, and call, a good qualified Medicare person who's going to give you the right information. But one of the things that I want to point to, and I'll use myself as an example. So I'm on a Medicare supplement plan with a standalone drug plan. I don't take that many meds. And so, as I mentioned previous in the last couple of months, if you're on one of those standalone drug plans, come along September, you're going to get a letter. It's called an annual notice of change, and it's going to tell you all about your drug plan. Is the premium going up? The deductibles going up? Is this drug covered? Is that not, all of that information. So being on Medicare, I go out to medicare.gov for me, and I put in my meds, and I want to know, is the plan that I'm on, it was a very competitive plan with a low premium, is there anything better out there? Well, guess what? I found something that was much better. The premium was a little bit more, but the cost of the drugs that I take, the meds, they're all tier 1, was cut in half if I go to this different plan. That's what I think everyone who's on a standalone drug plan should be able to do every single year. And you can go to medicare.gov and you can do it all by yourself.
Yeah, right. Sure. In theory,
now,
I
don't
get
know how
that
many
in
people
theory, but I don't believe that for a minute.
Yeah. Actually, it's really easy because if you're on a Medicare supplement plan, you can go to medicare.gov, register your red, white, and blue card, and guess what? It's going to show you the med sub plan that you're on. It's going to show you your drug plan, and you can do it all right there in front of you. But you're right. We're here to help our clients. The point is, if you haven't checked your Medicare standalone drug plan in a couple of years, this coming open enrollment, you can't do it during the year. You can only do it from October 15th to December 7th. And you have to check at least a couple of, every couple of years, because it's so fluid and unregulated that you could be paying way too much for your drugs.
Interesting. Well, so it just seems, it's just something that it's hard to believe that we try to actually navigate this stuff. I mean, my personal story with it is, my sister lives up in Reading, and she was always, watching over my mom, taking care of my mom. And it was like I got frustrated at the very beginning because my sister, we'd go through this whole process of trying to figure out, what about mom's Medicare? How's that going to work? What about her drug plans? What about the Part B? And it seemed like every year the question came up, I'd get a call from my sister and she'd say, Gary, mom's things changed. It's now, X amount of dollars more. And it seems like, and so we just said, you've got to find somebody that's an expert. Well, luckily her husband was affiliated with somebody that actually deals with it, was very good, independent like you are. And it changed our lives. And it was like, we're always thinking, if I get a Medicare consultant like Jim, then I have to pay him, right? And it was, the answer was no, that's part of what that's part of your premium. And it was really awesome but it was every year she would call him and, come up and she says, okay, we got to change this. I said, Dee Dee, I don't need you to explain it to me. Just tell me how much to write the check for, because every year it changed. Everything was different. And then trying to explain it to my mom is like, Mom, just do what Dee Dee says, because this is too confusing. At a time when you get older and you need more meds and you're struggling to figure out things a lot more, it gets more and more complicated. So you listeners, for you, for your parents, for your loved ones, anybody that's involved in Medicare, figure it out with Jim at your side, him leading you through this thing. 858-935-9120, 858-935-9120, the Medicare Answer Guy.com.
So I have one go around as it relates to
Yes.
prescription drugs.
Okay.
And it's called GoodRx. And so if you're on a plan that has a deductible, and by the way, in 2023, all standalone drug plans, I would say 95% of them, for certain tiers, tier 3, 4, and 5, have a $505 deductible. And so if your med is a tier 3, 4, or 5, and you have to go through that deductible before you use your drug plan, go to goodrx.com. It's free. Put in your med and see if there's a coupon. And I've shared with you before, I had to do this last year for a cream that my dermatologist gave me. It cost $275. I went to GoodRx, and at Costco, they had a coupon for $25.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Exactly. So now, one caveat here. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan that has a drug plan, there are no deductibles. And those work a little bit better than standalone because you really don't have much of a choice. But still, you should always, as your own advocate in this world of unregulated Medicare drugs, you need to check GoodRx. You need to find any way you can to keep the costs down, because the government is not going to do it for you. You have to be smarter than the government.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're smarter than a fifth grader, right?
Yes.
Maybe not in the Medicare world.
That's funny.
So use GoodRx whenever you can.
Okay. GoodRx.com. That's good advice from our Medicare Answer Guy.com. Okay. Final advice for us, Mike.
Final advice would be, if you're on Medicare, if you're brand new to Medicare and you're taking meds, just know that the
2 minutes.
meds are going to change. And so whoever you're going to talk to that's going to help you enroll in a drug plan, be very specific and have them explain to you in detail how it works. Just don't blindly get on a drug plan. Have them run the research at Medicare.gov and explain to you how this is going to work. And make sure you go to a preferred pharmacy that you consider GoodRx and check your drug plan every couple of years. That way, you're being a good advocate and you'll keep your costs down.
All right. You heard it right here on the Word on Wealth. That's Jim Robeson. His phone number, write this down, 858-935-9120, 858-935-9120. His website is the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. Jim, I really appreciate you being one of our partners here in the Word on Wealth and helping share this information with everybody. Every time people call and they say, Gary, I don't remember Jim's number, we give him the 858-935-9120. And we just really appreciate you helping us all out. Keep it up, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Have a great week.
Okay, you too. Thanks, Jim. All right, that was Jim, the Medicare Answer Guy, Jim Robeson, 858-935-9120. Here to help you navigate the Medicare prescription maze. You can see, as you know, talking through the show, it's not a matter of trying to confuse you. It's a matter of trying to help me understand what's going on. I feel like I am a relatively intelligent person, and I still ask the same questions of Jim, and he is patient with his answers, and he's doing it, you know, impromptu here on the air. So he will do the same for you. Don't go anywhere else. Go to the Medicare Answer Guy, and his number is 858-935-9120. Call him today, 858-935-9120. Thanks again.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST. Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
You're like,
Well, thank you so much for being part of the show, my friends. We just had the delight of talking to Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy. Any of your Medicare questions, they're going to come up because Medicare is not Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal is like, that's the Medi-Cal is if you don't have any money. Medicare is for anyone that is of age. So Medicare is based on age. Medicare is the insurance that you get. Medicare is the insurance you have to enroll around your 65th birthday. So if you're turning 65 this year, my suggestion is get on it and get with Jim, and he will help you understand, you know, what you need to know, and you can be prepared. I've had lots of friends go to Jim, and you know, it's like, okay, on their 65th birthday, they call Jim. It's not too late because you have a grace period after your birthday, but it gets a little panicky on, you know, trying to get everything done so you can review the plans. You guys know what it's like to buy insurance. If it's car insurance or home insurance or business insurance or the umbrella or the, any type of insurance, you know how difficult it is to go through that process. And it's just, there's a lot of decisions to make. So it doesn't make it fun. That's why you get somebody that you can trust to be able to help out. And that's what we're doing, at my office, GQ Law. We're trying to help people understand estate planning, wills and trusts, power of attorneys, and the legal information that you need and you need, but it's difficult to decide who to have help you. It's not, finding good professional help is not really a matter of finding who screams the loudest, who shouts the loudest, who has the most ads. That seems tempting. Wow, this person is all over the place. I should call that person. There might be a reason why they're all over the place, because they're spending millions of dollars on advertisement. That's going to come out of your fees. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's not going to be that. It's not going to be the firm that's advertising that much. I'm not faulting them for that, but obviously that's built in to fees. Some firms just advertise a lot, and that's how they get their business. Other firms don't advertise that much, and they get their business based on reputation. So looking for a professional, you got to like them. You have to believe that they understand what they're talking about. And there's two things that are very similar between GQ Law and Jim Robeson's company. Both of them are run by people that founded the company. And both of those, the goal is to help people understand what they're doing. So when you go to Jim, he's helping you understand how Medicare works, when to enroll, when's the annual enrollment period, where, there's all these different IEP, AEP, OEP. There's these different periods of time where you're getting into the plan, when you can save money, when you can make changes. And if you miss these periods of time, then you wait until it loops around the next year. So the best thing is really to have somebody like Jim on your side. He, as you can see, when he's with us on the show, he's very concerned about making sure that everybody understands what we're talking about, because it's not as fun to have a client who doesn't know what they're doing. It's just not as fun. I mean, yeah, you can deal with it. And I just don't particularly think it's really good practice to just say, just trust me. I'll do this thing. Just trust me. Don't worry about understanding it. Just trust me. I think there's a couple problems with that. My number one problem is, if you're saying just trust me, why are you being told that? Is because this person that's telling you that is not they believe you don't understand it, or you're not capable of understanding it, or you're not confident enough to understand it. I don't feel that way about anybody that I represent. I want to make sure that you understand what's going on, because this is your life. It is your world. It is your stuff. I'm here to help you. I'm here to counsel you and advise you. You do paperwork and do all the legal requirements that need to be done. No matter what task you want to have us do, I want you to understand what's going on, because then you know what to expect. When there's problems, if there's a hiccup, whether, what you're doing and why. And that's really my belief, is if you know what you're doing and you have the why, it makes it makes it so that the rest of it, like the reason for doing it, like okay, I've got to get this stuff done because I understand why. That really helps. I want to talk about power of attorneys. And every time we talk about power of attorneys on the air, there's always a lot more questions that come up. If you have questions about power of attorneys, call the show. You can call it now. We've got some lines open, 888-344-1170, and I'll answer your questions about power of attorneys. Here's the thing with the power of attorney. If you give someone power of attorney, you do that with a piece of paper called a power of attorney. Now, normally the power of attorney is called a durable power of attorney. Durable just describes one of his characteristics. And it means that if the person giving the power of attorney, the person signing it. So let's say you are giving, we'll just say you are giving power of attorney to your sister, because you want your sister to be able to take care of you and take care of your finances and that type of thing. Okay. So you fill out a form and it says power of attorney. I am basically nominating my sister as my power of attorney. And then there's a list of all the things that she can do with that power of attorney. Well, it's the document that we call the power of attorney, because that document grants her the authority to act on your behalf. Now, with the power of attorney document, we also put things in that document to make it durable. which means that when you give it to your sister and it's durable, that means that means once she has it and, years or time passes and now you became incapacitated, maybe there's a medical procedure that went weird, or maybe just age, or maybe you have cancer, or you got into a car accident or something, but now you are no longer legally competent. We say that you're disabled, incapacitated, incompetent. That power of attorney is durable. So it is still valid, even though you're declared incompetent. The power of attorney still has authority. And you're saying, well, Gary, isn't that why we do power of attorney? So that if we can't make the decision on our own, that somebody else will. And that is true. That is one of the functions. However, it's not really the main function. The main function is if you became, there are other ways to use a power of attorney. Like you can give power of attorney to your spouse because you're going to go away on a long business trip and your spouse is working on a house refinance or trying to buy a car or something like that, and they need your signature. You can assign them the power of attorney so they can sign your name. But if you're incapacitated, that power of attorney needs to be durable. The way you determine that is look on the power of attorney in itself, and it says, how long will it last? And there's terms for that, but you look and see, and it'll say this power of attorney is not affected by my incapacity or disability. Okay, that makes it durable. So with those lines, even if the title of the document just says power of attorney, if there's language in there that says this power of attorney is not affected by my subsequent incapacity or my later disability or something like that, if it has the right language, it now becomes a durable power of attorney. Banks want to see that. They don't want to see something that says this power of attorney is good unless I'm incapacitated, because then what's happening is the bank would have to then make sure that you are competent at the time that the power of attorney is being used. And how are they going to do that? Well, if they contact you to determine competency or have you show up at the bank, then the power of attorney is useless because you had to do it yourself anyway. So power of attorneys need to be durable. The other thing is whether or not they are springing. And springing means that it comes to life. It springs to life, meaning your power of attorney can actually use it. Your agent that you've assigned can actually use it if a certain event happens. Springing usually means that you look in the document, it says this power of attorney is not effective until condition. Okay. And the condition is typically until I'm determined incapacitated by two physicians that, that know my case or regular treat me. So there's a test in there, and that power of attorney does not become effective until it's determined that you are incapacitated. That's called springing. And it has to be springing and durable, right? Springing, durable, power of attorney. So the springing ones, they're good. You have to have a determination of incapacity. So that's a little bit more protection rather than just giving a general power of attorney. So springing, durable, good. Durable, good. I think springing is one of those things we have to talk about whether you need that type of protection. So that is possible. What I want to talk about next is the limitations on a power of attorney, like what a power of attorney cannot do. The reason I want to discuss that is because if somebody has a power of attorney and they are doing things that they're not supposed to, maybe we want to stop that behavior, because that might be a family member or somebody acting on your behalf or behalf of another family member. To get information from me on this, you can call my office at 855-500-TRUST. Get a free consultation. We'll go over it. We'll look at your power of attorneys, 855-500-TRUST. If you want help, if you want a power of attorney, you want to understand this stuff, you want a free trust review, 855-500-TRUST. Coming up next, what can a power of attorney not do? Right here on the Road Unlocked.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that? And why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
If you have 2 minutes, here's an easy way to advance the gospel and bless missionaries worldwide today. If you own a vehicle you no longer need, donate it to ChristiansWhoCare.org. You've heard about Christians Who Care Ministries car donation programs since 2005 here on KPRZ KCBQ. The charity was born right here in San Diego East County. Your donation of virtually any vehicle, car, truck, or van, running or not, is 100% tax deductible. It's easy to donate. Pastor Paul and his team at Christians Who Care Ministries are ready to accept your donation or answer any questions. Call toll-free at 888-488-5808 or use their simple online donation form at ChristiansWhoCare.org. They'll call within 24 hours to arrange your free vehicle pickup. You'll receive your tax-deductible receipt. ChristiansWhoCare.org is an IRS-approved 501c3 nonprofit ministry. Call 888-488-5808 to learn more.
You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
You're lying.
Hello, friend. Hey, one thing to look forward to tomorrow, I am on the Andrea Kaye show. And so I'm on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock on Andrea Kaye's show. She has me on as an invited guest at 7. And that will be tomorrow. Got a couple of new issues to discuss with her. Andrea, you know her. She is the news lady. She's the one that does the news you can use segment. That will be me, and talks about news and what's going on around the world and our nation and our county. She does a fantastic job, the Andrea Kaye show. She's on every day from, Monday through Friday from 6 to 8. And I'm her guest tomorrow. So listen to the Andrea Kaye show tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Power of attorney forms. We are in the middle of talking about power of attorneys. The document is called a power of attorney. And what the document does is it assigns an agent, and we call it your power of attorney. So it assigns this power of attorney person to act in your behalf. So like me, my power of attorney would say that I, Gary, assign initially my wife, Cheryl, as my power of attorney. Okay. And then it'll say, typically, if Cheryl can't do it, then it'll be my son, Matt. And if Matt can't do it, then it'll be my daughter, Brienne. So what I've done is I put like 3 layers. So if my wife cannot do it, is incapable because of incapacity, or unavailable because she's traveling somewhere, or whatever's going on, it now gives 2 other alternates, which is all good. Okay. If I don't name an alternate, then that can be a problem. But I will, and I did, because now it's going to authorize my power of attorney to work on my behalf. Now with your spouse, you think, of course, a spouse, it's just going to be 100%. I mean, why can't they just do everything that you want them to do anyways? Well, what happens is many things in California are community property, and community property belongs to both members of the community, which would be my wife and I. And because it belongs to both of us, then both of us have to make the decisions on what happens to that property. If she's trying to get a reverse mortgage to pay for our alarming medical bills, or she is trying to sell the house because we need to relocate, or trying to sell a piece of property, anything that is community property, she's going to have to sign she has to sign her name, and she needs my name on there too, because we're joint title. If I give her a power of attorney, then that power of attorney will authorize her as my power of attorney to sign my name. Okay. So if I'm incapacitated, the law doesn't forgive me and say, oh, Gary's incapacitated, he doesn't need to sign the deed to the house, or doesn't need to sign that title document where he's joint because he's incapacitated. They don't care. The law needs my signature. So it's going to have to either be me or my legally authorized representative. That's going to be a power of attorney. Okay. If I don't have a power of attorney, if I don't have that property that we're talking about in a living trust, then my wife would have to go to probate court to get a conservatorship over me. That's crazy. It's super expensive and takes forever, as in 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 months, because the process is complicated. There's appointed attorneys. There's the attorney that you would hire. In this case, my wife would hire to get a conservatorship over me. Then they appoint an attorney to me because I can't hire one on my own because I'm incapacitated. That's the very nature of the conservatorship. Then there's a county report. So my appointed attorney has to be appointed and say, okay, then talk to me about if I'm okay with a conservatorship and whether I have capacity, and they make that determination. And then they talk to my wife to see if she's really going to do the job right. Then there's going to be a court investigator that's assigned, the social worker that's going to come and figure out whether that's going to work out. There's all these reports that have to be made. And once all those reports are in and approved and everybody agrees, then we can get an order for my wife to be my conservator, which is my power of attorney, basically. So I could thwart all that by just having a general durable power of attorney and get around that. And there's cautions, there's reasons why some people don't do them, but that's really the way to get around a conservatorship, is with a power of attorney. That's one way. The other way is to have all of your property in trust. So if my house and my car and my money is in my trust, it's joint with my wife, Cheryl. I become incapacitated. Either of us can act as the trustee in my trust, which is very typical. So she doesn't have to act with me. In fact, she has the power to act independently. So she can go in, close the bank account or sell a piece of property or something, and she does it in the name of the trust, as with her as the trustee. So that avoids conservatorship. So a lot of these things, it's just a matter of being protected, being okay. Now that power of attorney that we're talking about, what my wife cannot do with a power of attorney, what no power of attorney can do, is act on behalf of a trustee. All right. So if my power of attorney, so let's say in the scenario, like my wife is dead, so I'm the trustee of my trust and I become incapacitated. So I want somebody to act on my behalf, and that is going to be the trustee. So the trustee now is going to do my thing. Now, if I have given my, if I've given my power of attorney authority after my incapacity to transfer assets to the trust, then that's totally fine. Okay. But what my power of attorney cannot do is my power of attorney cannot tell my trustee what to do. So you can't have a power of attorney that bosses a trustee. The power of attorney does not have power over trust assets. Okay. So let's say I put in my son, Matt, as my successor trustee. So now he's got control of my house and my car and my bank accounts that are in the trust. But I put my daughter, Bree, as my durable power of attorney. Okay. So now as a durable power of attorney, she wants to go and get into one of the trust bank accounts. Well, she can't, because only the trustee can get into a trust bank account. So she can't go to my son Matt and say, Matt, I'm using my power of attorney and I'm demanding that you turn over that money, or I'm going to go straight to the bank, because the bank won't accept that. She can't do a power of attorney over trust assets. She can't have a power of attorney to boss the trustee. Okay. The power of attorney is for stuff that is outside of the trust. So it's going to be some bank accounts that are out of the trust. Maybe there's a car, maybe there's some financial accounts. What happens more often than I would like to see is husband or wife becomes incapacitated and they have an asset that's outside of the trust. So let's do an example on that. We have Betty. We have Betty and John. Okay. Betty, wife, becomes incapacitated. Betty has a 401k because she's been employed for 40 years. She's got a 401k with $400,000 in it. That's really the largest part of the retirement is sitting in that 401k. Okay. So you got Betty, and then John, husband, now needs the money to take care of Betty because the medical expenses are really high. We're trying to, take care of her, get her into a facility, but they don't have enough cash to do it. Right now, John has a power of attorney. No, John doesn't have a power of attorney. And that account is not in the trust. It's in Betty's name. So what does Betty do? Or John do? John cannot access that account because it's not in the trust. It's not assigned to the trust. In fact, all she did was she went to her plan administrator and said, I want to do a TOD, transfer on death, or a POD, pay on death. I want to do a pay on death designation that when I die, I want this account to go to my husband or my trust. If my husband's not alive, it's going to go to my trust. But in the meantime, it's in Betty's name. So when she dies, we're totally fine. Legally, we're totally fine because that money now goes either to her husband, or in this case, it might go to her trust. But that's if she's dead. We've got a big problem because she is not dead. We need to get the money and John is not on the account. So even if there's a POD, a TOD, or a beneficiary designation saying when Betty dies, that money goes to the trust, it's not in the trust. It's in her name. She is incapacitated. John needs access. He can only get access in two ways. One is if he has a power of attorney, a durable power of attorney that Betty gave him to say, John can be my power of attorney and deal with my finances, including my retirement accounts and everything. Then John could go directly to the retirement account and get that money. And my suggestion is stick it in the trust and have it managed by the trustee, who just happens to be John. So that money could be, it's outside the trust, and that power of attorney can allow John to get that money and put it in the trust. That's one way. The other way is if, and I know this is 2020 hindsight, if Betty, instead of going and doing a transfer on death or a pay on death, if Betty went in and said, I want this account, it's not retirement. It's not a, let's say it's just an investment account that she's put all that money away. If it's an investment account, she can actually title it in the name of the trust. So it's going to say, investment account, you go and look on and it's going to say John and Betty's trust. So that money is held actually in the trust. If it is a retirement account, the retirement account cannot be held directly by the trust. You have to have a power of attorney. So when you look at your estate plan and try to figure out whether it's complete, I want you to make absolutely sure that in addition to having your will and your living trust and all that, is you need to have a power of attorney, durable power of attorney that at a minimum gives your spouse and your other, your successor trustee, gives them authority to transfer money from a financial account to the trust. Okay. It's called a limited durable power of attorney. That power of attorney lets somebody that you assign transfer money from your personal accounts, your personal monies that you've held outside the trust that maybe should have been in the trust, but weren't. It lets them transfer that money to the trust. I think that's the most important part. So power of attorneys need to be for a specific purpose. I don't like general. I like limited, durable power of attorneys. We can talk about that. You call me at 855-500-TRUST. If you want your free review, if you want to talk about power of attorneys, 855-500-TRUST. We'll be back tomorrow, everybody, talking about trust specifically here on the Word on Wealth. Bye, my friends. Have a good rest of your day.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth.
You had it until you wanted to wish your friends goodbye.
Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help you preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual